It was raining, and I hit something. And I figured it was a deer that ran off.
Okay, what's the problem?
I got called for jury duty.
1 year ago, the defendant, James Scythe, and his girlfriend, they had a fight. And he's gonna pay for what he did.
What are you telling me?
Maybe I didn't hit a deer.
You know what to do.
Imagine serving on a jury, only to realize the person on trial might not be the one who's guilty, because deep down, you recognize the crime, you recognize the night, and the worst part, you recognize yourself. Juror number 2 isn't a whodunit, it's a what now? When conscience collides with duty, when truth threatens to destroy everything you love, what would you do? Today we break down a film where justice gets personal, and silence might be the real crime. Justin Kemp is an average man, husband, father, mid-30s, steady job, quiet life. He's selected as a juror for a local murder trial. A teenager was killed in a hit and run. The community is outraged. The trial is headline news. The next morning, Justin drives to the courtroom where we witness Faith on the phone with her campaign manager. It is revealed that she's running for district attorney and is currently appearing in court to prosecute an accused murderer to score more votes. On their walk to the courtroom, Faith is greeted with coffee by Eric, the defendant for the alleged felony. Faith imposes the penalties on James, the accused, but Eric feels that his client is innocent and ought to face trial. At first, Justin is just another juror, observing, listening. But as evidence unfolds, skid marks, vehicle reports, security footage, something starts to click. A night, a drive, a feeling he buried.
What the hell are you doing?
I don't want to do this anymore.
Justin begins to wonder, was I there? He tells himself it's impossible, but denial quickly gives way to dread, because the car in question matches his. The timeline fits, and the victim's route that night, it intersects with Justin's shortcut home. He thought he had accidentally hit a deer and continued on. The meeting is adjourned when Faith and Eric conclude their disparaging remarks. Later, he joins his alcohol addiction meeting and stays late at the office, where he searches vehicular homicide, projecting his guilt about being the one who hit Kendall with his car. Later that evening, Justin comes home and gives Allison his work details. Faith brings bar witnesses to testify in the following session. After their altercation, the first witness says she saw James chase Kendall.
I basically
I want
did.
you to say I love you too. What lines are you talking?
Hey, get out of my face! Hey! What the hell are you doing?
I don't want to do this anymore.
But by forcing her to acknowledge that she was intoxicated and didn't follow James all the way, Eric disproves her credibility.
No. At that point, I had stopped filming and I went back inside.
The bar owner is next, and she says a scared hiker came up to her.
To Old Quarry by the bridge in order to get back to the bridge.
Eric is able to demonstrate that the quarry track is difficult to climb and calls for specialized hiking boots, while a forensic photo shows Kendall was wearing heels. A forensic expert testifies that Kendall's injuries suggest she was struck with a heavy instrument and pushed off the bridge.
She landed in a posterior position, which suggests she was pushed as opposed to a fall. Rigor mortis indicated the victim had been dead for around 9 hours.
According to the last witness, he's seen a man on the bridge exit his vehicle to have a look around. If he sees the man in court, Faith asks him to identify him. Knowing that he is guilty, Justin covers his face anxiously, but the old witness points at James instead. For the remainder of the day, the judge declares a recess. Following the break, Justin goes over to Larry, his alcohol sponsor, and tells him what he's been up to. Justin is thinking about coming forward and confessing that he drove while intoxicated that evening. Larry, however, dissuades him by threatening to sentence him to 30 years in prison. When the next court session begins, Eric questions James.
She said I didn't love her.
James remarks,
She kept telling her that I didn't think that I was ready.
We'll see.
We'll see. I guess she just wasn't having it.
He went after her, but he realized he had a baby niece at home, so he didn't follow her. As the trial proceeds, Justin becomes haunted, not just by guilt, but by the fact that someone else is on trial for what he may have done. A local kid, wrong neighborhood, shaky alibi. He's no angel, but is he a killer? Justin starts losing sleep. Flashes of the night return in fragments. He considers stepping down. But what would he say? That he may have killed someone and forgot? The prosecutor is sharp. The defense is desperate. But no one is more on edge than Justin. But he knows. He knows it could be him. The guilt eats at him. He tries to confess to his wife, but can't. Each moment, he's both juror and suspect. Truth and lie. The jury deliberates. Most believe the defendant is guilty. Justin hesitates, not because he doubts the evidence, but because he's afraid they're right. But also, afraid they're wrong, and he's the reason why. Justin talks to Larry to talk about the case, to get a mistrial and save James. Larry thinks it does not help because the case will be reopened. Justin's wife knows something is wrong. Justin loses it during their furious dispute and opens up about everything. He acknowledges that the night Kendall passed away, he was intoxicated and preoccupied with Allison's texts. He is so overcome with guilt that he vows to do all in his power to keep Allison and their unborn child safe.
I'm not doing this alone.
No, you're not. You're not. You are not. I will protect our family. I will.
James is found guilty by the jury, which delivers its verdict to the judge at the most recent court session. The sentencing hearing is set for tomorrow when the court adjourns the case. A father now, Justin comes home to celebrate the birth of his child. But as late-night police cruisers drive by his residence, his guilt persists. Justin can't help but feel regret as he goes to the sentencing hearing the following morning. Following the punishment, Faith observes Justin's peculiar conduct. After doing some research, she finds out he is the husband of Allison. Outside the courthouse, she approaches Justin. Faith quietly understands the truth, despite his efforts to persuade her that the murderer might have been someone else. Although Faith is congratulated on her achievement by Eric at her office, she is still uneasy because she believes she may not have done justice. Meanwhile, Justin sells his car and returns home to his family. In the final scene, Faith pays Justin a visit at his home, leaving the audience to wonder whether Faith will expose Justin or let him live with his guilt. Juror number 2 isn't just a legal thriller. It's a pressure cooker for the conscience. What happens when the person sworn to help deliver justice might be the one who disrupted it in the first place? This isn't about courtroom twists. It's about the mental courtroom inside one man's head and the verdict he can't escape. I would like to share 3 examples with you. 1. Guilt is not always a verdict, because sometimes the courtroom isn't the only place where judgment happens. It's happening in your head, in your family, in the mirror. Justin's torment throughout the film captures a psychological truth. Guilt doesn't wait for a gavel. It shows up in silence, in hesitation, in how we rationalize our presence in a room we don't belong in. In the real world, we see this in whistleblowers, like Edward Snowden, or those who don't speak up, because guilt isn't always about what you did, it's about what you let happen. 2. Jury duty and the illusion of objectivity. In theory, jurors are neutral, but in practice, they walk in with history, bias, fear, and in Justin's case, a personal stake. Juror number 2 forces us to ask, are juries ever truly impartial? Studies show that unconscious bias, racial, socioeconomic, emotional, quietly shapes verdicts every day. This film doesn't need to shout it. It just shows a man cracking under the weight of pretending he's unbiased when he knows the truth. 3. Silence as a form of self-protection and complicity. There's a moment where Justin could come clean and doesn't. That silence, it speaks volumes. The film explores how silence becomes a survival tactic. We see this not just in courtrooms, but in workplaces, families, politics, where people avoid truth to preserve reputation. But in doing so, they preserve the system that created the harm. In the end, juror number 2 doesn't deliver justice in the traditional sense. It delivers truth, raw, unexpected, and uncomfortable insights. Juror number 2 challenges the viewer to examine how easy it is to be part of a broken process and how hard it is to disrupt it. Because sometimes the most dangerous thing in the courtroom isn't the defendant. It's the person pretending they're not involved. On the Flick verdict scale, this movie is a must-watch. Thought-provoking, emotionally gripping, a morally complex, quietly suspenseful thriller that lingers long after the credits. If you like films that ask hard questions, this one's for you. Justin doesn't leave the courtroom a hero, but he leaves honest. And in a world built on performance, that might be the bravest act of all. What if the killer was you? Would you stay silent or speak, even if it meant losing everything? Juror number 2 asks a haunting question. When your past catches up, do you lie, run, or finally face it? Tell me in the comments, what would you do in Justin's shoes? Like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more recaps that go deeper than the plot. Follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Flick Favorites. Let's explore the films that make us question ourselves.